Good evening, Razorback Nation. We are back with your Sunday afternoon's Razor recap. And, of course, we're brought to you by Razor Pigs. Looking good, never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Founded right here at home in Arkansas and now run by a Razorback-loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us. And can't forget about Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, you can check out the Core Brewery Tap Room, where you can check out Scarlet Letter and all its various flavors, as well as their new hard teas that they have that they just dropped. So go check them out if you're Northwest Arkansas. Fantastic place. Got a nice little chill spot over in Springdale, so go check them out. So today's episode is going to be one of those where, as we are going to get ready to kick off our week position by position breakdown next weekend, or this next episode. Today's episode is going to be a little bit interesting, where we kind of just talk about this upcoming football season in generality. And, as I titled the episode, could 2025 be Pittman's last ride at Arkansas? I think there's a lot of factors that'll factor into that. But, I think coming into year 6, there's a lot of pressure. There's going to need to be some definite improvement. You've got a second-year quarterback, a second-year offensive coordinator, that you should see improvement in the offense, but part of that is dependent on who shows up at the various positions, and who steps up in those roles, because he's got to have somebody. Taylor's got to have somebody to throw to. But today's show is going to be talking about generality and talking about our thoughts on the season, looking at the schedule a little bit, and what all has got to happen this season for Pittman to maintain his job as the head hog and going into 2026. So kind of just your initial thoughts here as we kind of go into the season. We're sitting here. July is going to be here this week. Fall camp's going to be here before you know it, about a month. And then before you know it, we're talking about game 1 in August, at the end of August. So,
yeah, no, it's as much as I love football, I just haven't been as excited going into this year, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because I don't get the vibe from everybody else that they're super excited, or if I'm just, I'm still kind of looking back towards baseball and this basketball season. But also, I'm thinking about the schedule. The schedule. I mean, we obviously know Arkansas always has one of the hardest schedules in the country, but this one just seems extra nasty, because even the easy games this year are not so easy, because there's a lot of, like, when you talk about Arkansas State and Memphis, there's a lot of history, at least with Memphis, between Arkansas. Or the University of Arkansas and Memphis. And then there's been 100 years of smack talk between Arkansas State and Arkansas. And that little brothers want to come in to Little Rock and try to knock off Arkansas. So it's about the only, I'm absolutely certain Arkansas is going to wipe the floor with them. The only game I see that being is Alabama A&M. Now, we can go into it a little bit more. I still think there's a pathway to 6, maybe 7 wins. 7's pushing it. But, it's going to be a very, when we talk about gauntlets, this is like the gauntlet of gauntlets, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you in a sense, and it's like you know, Woo Pig 00 here says, and I think this is the consensus of a lot of Arkansas fans, haven't necessarily been locked in this offseason, just kind of ready to see these guys take the field. Like Transplant Texans said here, Sam standing at the Kool-Aid stand, but the early season customers are far and few between. And I mean, I feel like that just speaks volume to like that's how I feel like it is right now. And it's tough. And before we get too far into it, Buddy Hobbs is joining us as well.
Hey,
so
he made it.
So, essentially, and Hobbs, real quick, and we get your thought. Austin just gave his, but going into this football season, optimism is low, and there's a lot of tough work to be done for Sam. As I said, could this year be Pittman's last year at Arkansas? And there's a lot of tough things they have to do. But from a general standpoint, before we dive into some schedule stuff and talk, and I said we'll dive into our position breakdown starting this week later, in our regular weekly episode. But your just initial thoughts and kind of overview going into this year, as far as general thoughts.
I mean, we got a good quarterback, so that's always a plus. We don't, but we just don't have. There's question marks really everywhere else. So, the running back room is full of really new people besides, Rodney Hill and I can't remember the guy's name that left.
Russell
came back. Russell, yeah,
Russell.
But yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know. The offensive line, I think, is going to be a little bit better. I would hope. The way they look on paper, they are. But, in the receiving room, like, I don't know who's going to be the standout, But the great thing is you got a great quarterback that really is going to take the next step. And then you got an offensive coordinator that's going to be able to these are his guys. He chose these guys to come here. He picked them out. So it's not like he's coming in his first off season and, he got to have a full off season of the players that he wants to play in his offense. So I trust Petrino to do well. The question, I don't have any concerns with the offense. I really think, with Petrino here, they can be good no matter who's out there. Because, he picked these guys out. Now, the defense is where I just don't know if we're going to be able to stop anybody. So that's my question.
Yeah, and you make a good point there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of retention there. Plus, Kelly Ford, I don't know. I think we talked about it already that you put out the opposing offenses and the opposing defenses, and he ranked them. And Arkansas obviously has the highest offensive opponent schedule in the country. So meaning we're going to face the hardest offenses on average than anyone else in the country. And of course, it has to become on a year where we don't really know what's going to happen. On the defensive side. And the last time we really had that was what was it, a couple years ago? I don't remember. Maybe it was last year. I just didn't know what was going to happen because we had so many new people, especially at linebacker, that I thought it wasn't going to be good. And all of a sudden, they actually end up playing really well, especially at linebacker. This year, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff gone, and I'm with you, Hobbs. I don't really know what to think of this defense yet. But Travis Williams has proven me wrong before, so I'm going to keep the faith on it.
Yeah, that's one guy, like you said, Travis Williams, there's a lot of young talent at this roster, on the defensive side. Honestly, the linebacker room probably gives me the most confidence going into this year compared to the other two position groups. Looking at the D line, you know what we're having to replace on that. And as far as depth, I don't know if we achieved what we necessarily wanted in the transfer portal. And then the defensive backs, you've got a whole new unit back there. A handful of returning guys, but you've got essentially reloaded with a lot of guys that are kind of prove it guys, if you will. We'll dive more into it, but like you've got a lot of guys from JUCO or smaller schools that are talented. Their stats popped and jumped off the page from where they're at, but can they make that jump to high level SEC caliber football? And I mean, like Austin said, Travis Williams has been a guy that has had this defense, surprise people before with what he's been able to do. And maybe he does that again. But, like Austin said, you look at the schedule, it doesn't, give you confidence as far as, those quote unquote cupcake or, warm up games. You only really truly, I feel like, have one, and that's your first one. After that, the level jumps up a few notches between a few of the different schools. And so we'll dive into the schedule. First home game, Alabama A&M. Okay, that's what you expect with a week one type of matchup, a game where I honestly will feel like it should be probably similar to how we played UAPB last year, a 40-something-0 or 7 game, where Talon plays maybe the first half, maybe part of the third quarter, something like that, and you get other guys work. That's what honestly I see from this game. But then you ramp things up week 2 with Arkansas State and Little Rock. So not only are you getting this game that, as Austin said, for years, people have been wanting it, and people being the northeastern part of the state has been wanting this matchup, and it's coming this year, and not here in Fayetteville. It's going to be in Central Arkansas, the capital city. So, you're getting it smack dab in Central Arkansas. And, that's a game where on paper, you wouldn't think it's something that's too terrible or something, anything like that. But I think just from the hype around it and the importance of you can't lose this game as far as losing the little brother, that's going to be your first big one where I think there's a little bit more added pressure than what you would have out of a normal week 2 game.
Real quick, shout out to Whitney. That's the hype girl. I see your comment there. So thanks for joining us, Whitney. We appreciate it.
But yeah, no, I'm with you too. Here's the thing about Arkansas State, right? On paper, Arkansas should probably be 21 to 28 point favorites over Arkansas State. They're in the Sun Belt, and they're not exactly one of the best teams in the Sun Belt either. They're not very good. But the thing is, there's a lot of pride that comes with it. And let's be honest, this isn't UAPB, right? This isn't UCA. Like they're a legit FBS football program.
Hey, they have a good quarterback this year too.
Who's your quarterback?
I forget the name, but he had some hype finishing up last year
for a minute,
and he's coming back.
Yes, I mean, like the thing is, what you guys were saying earlier, a good quarterback is going to make a big difference. If they don't have an offensive line that can stop our defensive line, then it's going to be over for them. But the thing is, I'm not super convinced about our defensive line. So it just depends. And there's going to be a lot of emotion, a lot of, at least on the Arkansas State side, there's going to be a lot of, I don't know what the word is, not hype, but like they're going to be, putting it in their ear all off season long, all fall camp long. Everyone in Jonesboro is going to be like, who loves Arkansas State. They're going to be in their ear telling them how important this game is to them. Whenever I don't really think that's going to be the same effect in Fayetteville. And if they don't take this game seriously, Arkansas State might surprise them. But I mean, if I were betting, I'm going to pick Arkansas with the over. I just am. Arkansas's offense is incredible. Like, they're going to be really good this year. I don't care that, Shanks and Sharp are like 5'10" and 5'9". I've said it before. Joe Adams was 5'10". So, and you know who coached Joe Adams? Bobby Petrino.
Wasn't Jarius Wright just as short?
He is 5'11".
Yeah, those were our best. That was the best receivers we had. So, yeah, I'm not worried one bit about Arkansas State. We're going to run up and down the field on them. I'm not worried one bit about that school over there.
I'm just hoping that Arkansas isn't going into it sleepwalking, because if Arkansas State can make it interesting by halftime, and when I say interesting, I mean within 10 points, then we're not necessarily in trouble. I just like it's gonna give them a lot of hope, and you don't need to give teams like that hope.
Yeah, I mean, we'll put up 70 on Alabama A&M, and then we'll put up probably 40, 50 on Arkansas State. It's the next two games after that has me a little bit worried on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
So as Hobbs alluded to there, you got you got game 1 versus Alabama and A&M, your warm up, your quote unquote cupcake game. Then you have Arkansas State, the in-state rivalry game that a lot of people have been wanting. All right, hypothetically, Arkansas gets to win in both those. All right, you're going 2-0. You start conference play week 3, where you have to go on the road to Ole Miss. Don't know really what to expect out of Ole Miss this year because you're looking at it. Okay, they're replacing Jackson Dart. How much of that they're replacing one of their top receivers that got drafted as well. So, there's not a lot as far as returning in key positions, but I think there might be some extra motivations in terms of Arkansas because you're going to be going up against Luke Haas, Patrick Kudus. I'm blanking on the DB's name. Yeah, Jalen Braxton. Those 3 guys that defected, if you will, to Ole Miss after this season. So there's going to be a little bit more of a storyline for this game in terms of these guys. I think are going to want to get the win and be like, "Hey guys, shouldn't have left." But
here's the thing with like first year quarterbacks under what's his name, Lane Kiffin too. Even though this guy's, I don't know who their quarterback is this year, but I don't think it's from someone from the transfer portal. Either way, I don't think it really matters. Usually first year quarterbacks under Lane Kiffin aren't exactly great. I mean, Jackson Dart with kind of the exception to the rule. He was pretty good his first year here. But like, look at Matt Corral. He came to Arkansas and threw six picks, and 3 of them to Hudson Clark. I mean, he didn't do very good. And then the next year, he puts up 52 points on Arkansas. So I'm kind of with you there. I do feel a little bit better about them not having Jackson Dart there. I still think they're really good in the trenches, more so on the offensive line. But yeah, it's also in Oxford too. So I'm like, it's not exactly the best stadium to play at, but it's still, it's at nighttime, and some of those Mississippi kids, it's 6 or 6:30. So and those frat kids over there know how to drink too. So they're going to be wild and all kinds of stuff like that. I don't know, man. It just sucks to see this as the 3rd game of the season. It's kind of it's like getting Alabama that early. I'm not saying Ole Miss is Alabama, but they're a dang good football team, and I hate to see them so freaking early.
Yeah. So their starting quarterback is Austin Simmons.
He's from Go ahead, keep going.
Miami.
He's been. They says he's been learning the system for a few years under Lane Kiffin. Described as having a good arm strength and a strong throwing motion. So I don't know.
Like every quarterback in the SEC,
but maybe 3 games in the season he's not quite like there yet, and he's not he's not in rhythm yet, and we can catch him while he's not. I actually like to play people early. So yeah.
Does he play baseball too?
Does he?
It looks like it. He's a left-handed pitcher.
So apparently, I don't know if he played necessarily at Ole Miss, but looking at him, he was rated as the number 58 player overall in the class of 2025, but reclassified to 2023. How you reclassified to 2 years earlier is beyond me. He flipped his commitment from Florida to Ole Miss. And so as a 2023 recruit, he was rated as a 3-star and the number 35 quarterback in the class. That was
he did
a class of guys that are 2 years older than him.
Oh, that's weird. But he did pitch in 2024. Yeah, he made 13 relief appearances according to their website. So yeah, that's cool. I knew the name sounded familiar too. So
yeah, and I'll say this too. There's a lot of games that I've seen Arkansas and Ole Miss play at nighttime in Oxford that a lot of weird stuff's happening. All right, so anything is possible when we play them there. So. Didn't 4th and 25 happen there?
Yeah, it did.
Didn't the 8 overtime game happen there, whatever it was? So yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens in Oxford when we go there at night.
It's true, very true. It's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, it's Transplant Texan said Ole Miss will be wanting to score on their home field basketball goal, and the Arkansas transfers will want to validate their portal jump. It'll come down to who has more fire in the belly for the win. It's going to be – I think there's going to be a lot of story in this one, but to Hobbs' point, I mean, maybe playing a team earlier in the season will be more beneficial for a team like Arkansas where Taylor Green, Bobby Petrino, it's year 2. There's more continuity there as long as we find out in weeks 1 and 2 kind of what the receiving core and everything's going to look like and defensively. But because compared to a year 1 true starter that's also 19 but has been there for a few years behind Jackson Dart. So
whenever I said that, I still have it in my mind the Ole Miss team of last year. So, but if you guys make a really good point about Austin Simmons starting for the first time this year. So, actually, I think I kind of changed my mind on that. I do kind of like having them a little early this year.
I believe that, I believe that it'll be his first SEC start. And Ole Miss normally plays cupcake schedule outside of conference. So let me see. Oh, yeah. No, they played Kentucky before us. They're at Kentucky, and they lost to Kentucky last year.
Oh, wow.
So, that'd be interesting.
I don't know how you lose Kentucky and then put that many points on Arkansas last year. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Here's the clarification from Transplant Texan. I know what you're talking about now. It had me weird, the wording. He said Ole Miss has a kid's basketball goal on the sideline that they would dunk on after good plays during last year's game in Fayetteville. Now I know what you're talking about. That makes sense.
Is it a kid's goal? It's not like a regulation?
Who knows? Honestly, with Ole Miss.
They probably don't want to jump in too high and pull on a hamstring or something.
No, put a little Fisher Price one out there.
Yeah. But so you finish up this game at Ole Miss. That's a toss-up. Then you stay on the road. As you're coming back from Ole Miss, you have a stop in Memphis. So
you might as well
one of those games where
go back to
close.
Fayetteville.
Right,
Memphis is right up the road.
At that point, yeah, but I don't know if there's a place that you want to stay.
That's true. They can come to my house. Just come on.
But so then you have week 4 you have a road game versus Memphis. A game that that there's a lot of kids from Arkansas that go to Memphis and vice versa. So there's some backstory there. And I don't know. It's that game's going to be an interesting one because it's I feel like on the same level as Arkansas State where you don't want to overlook them, but also you think this is a game where you just take care of business and get ready to come back home.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering why we scheduled this game. I don't understand the point of going. We play in the SEC. Why are we traveling to that place? Like, I don't understand. It makes no sense to me. And Memphis is really not a bad team. They actually are a pretty decent football team. So it's no gimme, and we're on the road. So it would be our second road game in a row. So yeah, it just like I just don't. It's the schedule's crazy. So hopefully we'll be healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's kind of the first time in a while that I don't know. I can't even remember a time where Arkansas. I guess when they went to Colorado State back when Chad Morris was here, right? They went to Colorado State.
I forgot anything to do with that name.
That's well, that's where Colorado State beat Arkansas because
Colorado State, North Texas, you name
it. Those green teams that nobody knows who they are. But yeah, that's kind of like the last time I remember seeing Arkansas go to a group of 5 school like that. So I don't know. It's a little weird. Maybe they had this whole thing. Heck, dude, maybe Arkansas baseball is going to play Memphis. Maybe they have this thing with the University of Memphis.
I think they have before.
No, I mean this year.
Before. I don't know.
Because Arkansas's playing Memphis in basketball this year, right? Or am I making that up?
But Calipari's got ties there, so that would make sense.
Yeah, but I mean, Arkansas kind of has ties there itself too. So maybe they've gotten this whole thing where Arkansas is going to play them in every single sport and try to rehash that rivalry and make
reignite,
it more,
if you will.
Yeah. So it was mostly with basketball, but now, I mean,
yeah. So looking at it, like Hobb said, Memphis has been a pretty good team. So last season they went 11-2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And won the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl over West Virginia.
The what bowl?
Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl.
These bowls are named so crazy these days.
Yeah.
So, I would say give them props that they beat Florida State last year, but as we know, Florida State,
oh my goodness,
it was absolute trash last year. So,
yeah. You
remember y'all remember last year the opening game between Georgia Tech and Florida State? It was somewhere. It was like a neutral field.
It was the Ireland game.
Yeah. And the game had so much hype and everything, and Georgia Tech beat them. We're like, oh, Georgia Tech, pretty good. We didn't know how bad Florida State was. Oh man.
So
that's the thing. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Austin.
I was just saying because, college football, especially with the NIL and the transfer portal and stuff, we actually have no idea what any team is going to be like. We really don't. We're just doing educated guesses. Right. There's some, I have a spreadsheet that shows most of the teams that were in the college football playoff. Actually, most of their production came from people who had been on campus for more than 2 years. Anyway, so I'm not super certain that transfer portal is the way to go, but at the same time, we really don't know what teams are going to look like. Florida State was not a heavy favorite to win the ACC, but they were right there with Clemson and who else was over there? Miami. And SMU came in out of nowhere. So you really just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. And whenever you see those big, flashy upsets in game one of the 2025 football season, don't, be like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy, because maybe they suck. You just don't know. So I don't know.
I hope Notre Dame sucks.
Transplant Texan said, Austin, logical conclusion. Memphis for basketball and football, they could have been tied together to make the deal go through.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know.
So you get this game against Memphis. And then you're like, oh yes, finally we get to go home and play a game in Fayetteville. Well, you got to play Notre Dame. So, and Notre Dame's hit or miss every year.
This one I'm excited about because this is the kind of matchup that we need to be playing. We don't need to be playing Memphis. All right. Give me a team like Notre Dame that doesn't play a single team every year. Yeah, they played A&M last year at Kyle Field, impressive win there. But, give me Notre Dame at 11 o'clock on ABC, and I'd rather have it at night, but it is what it is.
Games don't exist in Fayetteville, Hawgs. Didn't you get the notice?
Yeah, well, it's all about money, and it's always been about money, and we play in the best conference in the country, so it's hard for us to really get the spotlight. But yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, Notre Dame, have you ever really watched Notre Dame and said, dang, their offense is just awesome?
No. But their defense is good.
Their defense is great, but that's why they don't scare me. Like, I think it's going to be a close game, and I think we're going to have a chance to win it. Now, we're going to make the plays to win it and execute down the stretch to win it. I don't know, but you never know. And so I'm excited, and I'm excited to go watch the Arkansas Razorbacks play in the Notre Dame Stadium too. So, which would be next year. So I think it's cool that we're playing Notre Dame.
I do too. I think
I agree.
I think it's a great thing, actually. I mean, like, when you think of the top brands in college football, Notre Dame is up there. And they have a following all over the country. It doesn't matter where it is. So they're all the eyes are going to be on that 11 o'clock showing, mostly because there's a crap ton of, Notre Dame fans.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, the only thing looking at Notre Dame's schedule before they come here to play is they've got a few tough games where they get, up to speed real fast. They open the season playing Miami at Miami. Then they play Texas A&M at home. Yeah. And then they play Purdue all before playing us.
Wow. I'm not used to that. I'm used to Notre Dame playing the School of Mercy and the Blind and all these schools beforehand. So that's interesting. At Miami.
Yeah, they actually got a loaded up schedule. So
yeah, they're at Miami, which has Carson Beck now, and then you got what'd you say
at
after
Miami
that?
week 1. Miami week 1. Week 2, they play Texas A&M at home. Week 3, they play Purdue, where Coach Odom's coaching now. Then they come to Arkansas week 4. Week 5, they're playing Boise State at home. Then week 6, they're playing NC State at home. Then they play USC at home. Go to Boston College. They play Navy at Pitt, Syracuse at home, and finish the season at Stanford.
Yeah, that's the toughest schedule I've ever heard them have.
Yeah. Well, the latter part of that schedule is not very hard.
Yeah, the latter part's hard.
But the thing is, you got to think about it too. Notre Dame isn't in a conference, so they're never going to get one of those automatic bids into the college football playoffs. So they're going to have to start scheduling harder and harder seasons to even really, have a chance, because some of those teams, like Clemson last year, lucked into winning an ACC championship and got one of those spots. And that could easily bump a Notre Dame who's at a 9 or a 10. Well, I guess if we go to 16, or at a 13 or 14 seed. So, yeah, they've got to start doing it. They've got to have a better resume going forward, or they might not make the college football playoffs.
True. Transplant Texan said, Hobbs, winning brings the spotlight. Football has not been established that they can win more than one marquee game a season.
Yeah.
Fair. Last year was Tennessee.
So theoretically, all right, you're 5 games into this season already, right? What if you are 4-1 heading into that game against Tennessee?
I think you're sitting at, a pretty good spot. Are you saying the one loss being to Notre Dame?
Well, either Notre Dame or Ole Miss. So you split those and then win all the other games that you're supposed to win. Because let's be honest, Memphis and Arkansas State Arkansas is supposed to win those games.
Yes.
Like, we know all the extracurricular stuff that might give the other teams an edge, but on paper, Arkansas should win those games. So if Arkansas splits Ole Miss or Notre Dame, what do you think they are? Because they got to be ranked, right? If they win one of those games, you would think so.
If they beat Ole Miss or Notre Dame or currently, I think they're both in the top 10 to start the year, aren't they? So if they beat one of them, I would think you're ranked.
And it also depends on how they lose that other game, I believe.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're sitting at 4-1, I think you're sitting it in a lot better spot than maybe what some people thought you would be at that point. And, you know, talking about it, you're looking at that, you know, after you come home and play Notre Dame, you head on the road to Tennessee. And, you know, I think I said it once before, a week or two ago, but after all the offseason activities, this Tennessee game doesn't scare me as much anymore. New quarterback. Yeah. The quarterback uncertainty there is going to be a big thing for them. And I think that probably changes the dynamic of their season. So
it's all about matchups.
That makes this game for me feel like one of those that, yeah, I think this game is one of those that before the summer and everything that happened, you're like, ooh, we got to go to Knoxville. Now this seems more like a winnable game for Arkansas on the road.
And you got to think
would be too. One that I think would.
I don't mean to keep cutting you off. You keep going a little bit.
Yeah.
Back. So I keep thinking you're stopping. So I don't really mean to talk while you're talking, Caleb. I apologize, but keep on going.
You're good.
And then But okay, so
I was just gonna say this Tennessee game. Oh,
you go. I'm gonna say right here.
Okay, I was just gonna say this Tennessee game will more than likely be one of those games that could be one that Arkansas wins that maybe they shouldn't win. You know, in terms of, you know, you always have a few of those on the schedule where there's games that Arkansas somehow pulls out that games they shouldn't win that they do, and then vice versa, a game that they shouldn't lose but they do. And I think this Tennessee game gets a lot more interesting now.
Yeah. No, I'm with you that, because I was thinking if you beat either Ole Miss or Notre Dame and you lose the other one by, like, let's say less than 10 points, what of the next 4 teams are you really that afraid of? Tennessee, not going into Knoxville, maybe at night, because that's one of the flex games. That is kind of, you know, but then you get Texas A&M at home, which haven't had Texas A&M in Fayetteville in like over a decade. Then Auburn, who is about as trashy as a program in the SEC as there is.
No, they're ranked. You didn't see they're ranked?
Ole Miss is ranked. What?
No, Auburn's ranked.
Auburn's ranked in where?
I don't know how, but they're ranked, yeah.
Okay, so they're not going to be ranked for very long. That's just my opinion. And then Mississippi State. I mean, you have the potential, right? If Arkansas, because I don't think Arkansas is going to win either one of those games. I'm talking hypothetically, right? If Arkansas beats either Ole Miss or Notre Dame, I see all 4 of those as wins. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just saying, if and butts, coconuts, you know, all that stuff. But really, Arkansas's season is, you know, hinges on those first 5 games. It really does. If Arkansas can get it together there's not really a whole lot that I'm afraid of going into the rest of the season. That's a lot of silence.
Think the A&M game has the potential. Well, I was waiting to see if Hobbs might add something there. So
I was like, I don't know if he heard any of that because his audio is a little weird.
Oh man, I just say, look, I think every game's winnable. So, I mean, I'm not scared of anybody.
Oh, don't give us this coach speak, Hobbs.
So, yeah, I just I believe in this team more than the the next person. So, because I really like Bobby Petrino, I think this offense is going to be really good, and Taylor Green's legit, and he's probably going to have a type of season where he could end up being a top 3 round draft pick. So I'm hoping we stay healthy. That's my main concern, because that's what a lot of the issue was. We didn't have a running back healthy last year, so we really couldn't run the ball like we wanted to. So yeah, I really like it. So, I mean, when you think about how bad the offense was 2 years ago and what they did last year, I think it's I think we're in for a good season as far as offense goes. Defense wins championships, so you got to stop the other team from scoring.
Yeah, I mean, like Transplant Texan says here, A&M at home has a chance to be a win for no other reason than the game will not be cursed by playing at Jerry's Hawgs will lose world. So,
yeah,
I mean,
remember that game?
Solid point.
KJ jumped, and the ball got knocked out of his hands at the 1 yard line. They took it back for a touchdown. The game that we were dominating in, had full control in. It's just
and
horrible.
then Cam Little misses a field goal.
Yeah, one of the
That
best
doesn't happen.
kickers there is. Yeah, it's just
In the most spectacular fashion, too. I don't think Cam Little could do that again if he tried.
No, and speaking of kickers, we got a pretty good one this year, too. I'm excited to see him kick.
Well, let's hope so. Because I think we've had one of the best recruited kickers in a while on campus. And he got beat out by I can't even remember their names last year. So let's just hope. Cross fingers.
Yeah. So, like you said,
no.
Tennessee on the road, not as terrible. And then, A&M, very much winnable. I'm excited to have that game here. Auburn, it'll be interesting to see what Jackson Arnold does after transferring from Oklahoma. But, that's always, like Austin Hobbs said, trashy program, and we'll see what happens there.
Will the refs screw us there? Because they have a history of doing that.
It's always a good point.
Yeah, true.
Then you have Mississippi State, which is our homecoming game.
Blowout.
I love the confidence, Hobbs. I love it.
I mean, you talk about one of the worst football programs in the SEC, and somehow they think they're good, even when they win 2 games. That we're going to destroy them.
You're still pissed about that, the toughest games thing, aren't you?
I just don't like you talk like just historically they are just not a good football program. They never have been, and I don't understand where the confidence comes from them actually doing something. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. They're gonna miss a bowl game again this year. I don't think. Just looking at the recruiting and what they get in the portal, they're not up to par with the rest of the SEC right now. I'm not saying Arkansas is. I'm just saying that they're really, really far behind. Whenever what's his name? Head coach passed away.
Mike Leach.
Yeah. When Mike Leach passed away, that really hurt their program because they invested a lot into Mike Leach. So it's sad to see, but at the same time, I mean, you can't put all your eggs in one basket too. So,
I mean, their program is just like they were only good with Dak, and even Dak, when you look at the quarterback right now in the NFL, he's not very good either. So, and I could say that because I'm a Cowboys fan, and it gets on my nerves. Yes.
As Transplant Texan said, less cowbell is always preferable during football games. So, you wrap up this game of homecoming. These next 2 games is where it's got me nervous going into after Mississippi State. You go to Baton Rouge. Luckily, it's not a night game, so you're not having to play in Death Valley at night. and then you have to go to Austin and play Texas with. We'll have to see with year one Arch Manning does too. So these two games could be very interesting games. Arkansas finishes 2 of the last 3 on the road, and then kind of like we talked about with Ole Miss, you got Missouri here at home. Weird things happen with Missouri. You know, we had the snow game last year where we played them in the snow. Should have won that game on Thanksgiving, but, you know, and that's going to be a nighttime game as well. So,
yeah, that game was rough.
Sorry, you said nighttime?
Yeah, this
5 to 7. Yeah,
they normally play at like 2 or something.
Yeah, usually.
Is it a Thanksgiving Day?
Saturday.
No, it's on Saturday.
Why do they keep changing stuff up?
Huh?
I just don't understand it. Like, you constantly changing stuff. Can we just go back to playing LSU last? Like,
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. I don't know. At least, well, the thing is, at least I have hope most of the time whenever we beat Missouri. But that's the thing, is like losing to Missouri in the last game of the season every year just isn't the same as losing to LSU in the last game of the season every year. Like, I'd much rather lose to LSU at the end of the season than Missouri every year. That's, yeah.
Fair point. But
it's just like, that's fair.
So looking through this schedule, we kind of talked through this a little bit. So, you know, we said we could be ideally looking good, you know, coming out of the Notre Dame game, but potentially being 4-1, potentially, and then looking at the rest of the schedule, you know, do you feel like after talking through this, the odds of Arkansas getting to that 7-8 win mark is very much doable for Pittman to keep his job?
Well, I'm going to push back. I don't think that he has to get to 7 or 8 wins. I think he just has to get to a bowl game. And I know people, I like Transplant Tax isn't going to like to hear that, but look, you got to think Arkansas is going, like everyone else in the country, is going through this whole revenue sharing thing. And having, getting rid of a coach like that and having to spend that much money on a buyout whenever you go to a bowl game, especially if they win a bowl game, it's hard to do, especially whenever you're having to put up that much money for revenue sharing at the same time. So as long as he makes it to the bowl game, I really don't see him leaving. As much as we may hate that, and fans around the natural state may hate that, I think that might be the case. But I can see if they go 4-1, I can see them potentially reaching that 8-game mark. And if you do that, I don't know what the trolls on Facebook are going to do. They're not going to have anything to complain about. It's like Arkansas goes 8-1 or 8-4 next year. That would be insane. But I'm not going to pick that. I'm going to pick 6-6. Just because I don't really think they're going to be able to. I feel a little bit better now that we've talked about Ole Miss, but I don't think they're going to make it through that game and the Notre Dame game without losing both. I just don't. And really, the teams that I think they have a chance with, other than Memphis, Arkansas State, Alabama, A&M, probably Auburn, Mississippi State, and Missouri. That's about it. And then, Texas A&M, I don't know how they're going to be this year, but they're always really stout on defense. And if they can score against our defense, I don't know if they're going to have enough power behind Bobby Petrino to actually get it done. So I don't know, man. I think 6-6, Sam Pittman keeps his job.
I feel like
we go through this whole thing again next year.
Yeah, I feel like we could see a weird scenario this year where Arkansas does the Arkansas thing and loses to an Auburn and Mississippi State, but then somehow finds a way to pull an upset and beats an LSU or Texas on the road. That's just how historically Arkansas does things, apparently. And so I could see something also like that happening as well.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that people put a number. They put a number on how many wins you're supposed to get. But you have to really look at who you're playing. Just like we did, you have to really look at the schedule before you say, "Oh, if we don't win 7 or 8 games, this is a failure. We should fire everybody." You know, when you play the schedule that we do, the toughest there is, um, winning 6, like as long as you beat the teams you're supposed to, and you beat somebody you're not supposed to, it's a good season. Because I mean, you can't expect the team with our team compared to the talent of the other teams to win 8 or 9 games unless they're just better than we think they are. So, yeah, I just have a hard time with this notion of people thinking that we're supposed to be the Alabamas and Georgias, which we're not. We are in baseball, we are in basketball, but it's just never been that way in football. And it's just because football is completely different than the rest of the sports. It just is. And money talks. Money is everything. Money makes the world go round. So, and those schools have more money than we do. To allocate towards football. So it just is what it is. So we just have to hope that we can beat somebody we're not supposed to and win the games that we are supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, a transplant Texan said here, Austin, Remy made it clear the other day in his press conference. The money is the money, aka things are tight. The cupboard is bare for a different hire with no big money donors stepping up. And he follows that up with, without proven success, over 500. As long as Sam is at the helm, big money donors will not open their pocketbooks, and more common fans will begin closing their pockets.
But we can't keep going through the same cycle. We can't keep, let's fire this guy, hire the next guy, do the same thing over and over. Unless there's somebody out there that's just a game changer, like a John Gruden or something, that changes just the whole level of, oh my God, Arkansas has got this coach, like what happened at Colorado with Deion Sanders. Unless there's
potentially, North Carolina with hiring Bill Belichick.
Right. Unless there's something like that where you know for certain you're going to get that guy, then you can't afford, like Austin was saying, to pay a buyout for a coach and just lose all that money. It just doesn't make any sense. So you just can't just make drastic changes like that. And because it's been the cycle. It's been the cycle, same thing over and over again. So that's
how we got Sam Pittman in the first place, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Arkansas's history. Arkansas made not a rash decision. They had to make a quick decision when they came to the football coach after Bobby Petrino, right? And they did not have the leverage that they had before that whole incident, right? Because now you got a coach that's coming here and he's going to have to deal with all that negative publicity and have to navigate all that. And then he's got to also try to work up and fill the shoes that Bobby Petrino left. And one, the pressure is incredibly crazy. Two, you don't necessarily have everything that he he didn't have everything that Bob Petrino had to work on. And then whenever he started to fail, which I think it was probably time for him to go, maybe, they made a really quick decision again, because that didn't work out and they weren't ready to make that change, like Hawgs was saying. And then what did you have after that? You had freaking Chad Morris. And obviously that was another one of those things where you weren't prepared to make a change, but you had to, and you didn't have the money to leverage a new coach. You didn't have the success to leverage a new coach. That's an SEC type coach. You were named the Vandy of the SEC West, and no coaches wants to go there, so their career can end, right? So like we can argue about how he's not being successful, but if you don't have the money to go out and get a new coach, the one that you want, you're just going to keep going in the cycle. So someone's got to stop it, right? Someone in the donors, they're going to have to either buck it up or they're going to have to live with Arkansas football sucking. That's it. Like what they want is they want a cheap coach to come in here and be a diamond in the rough. And the thing is, you know how many times that happens? Hardly ever. Not at this level, right? Yeah. So it's,
and you think about some of the coaches we've had, like Houston Nutt way back in the day. He went on to go to Ole Miss. And, you know, the thing that really, another one, Brett Bielema, who's at Illinois now, they're a top 25 program. So it's like you want to just fire these guys right off the bat. And it's like, I know it's year 6 or whatever, but, I mean, who are we going to get? Who's going to come in here and just be so much better than the other person? But like you said, you get what you pay for. You can go buy a $200 TV or a $2,000 TV. You tell me which one looks better or lasts you longer. So that's really you always get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what our donors want.
Yeah. It's like, let's go get this guy, and hopefully we find somebody that, you know, turns into, you know, the next big thing. Transplant Text said, who was worse, Chad Morris or John L. Smith?
I don't have time to go into a deep depression right now. That sounds awful.
Chad Morris, obviously. John L. Smith was bad, but the lasting impression was not there.
And you talk
that's
about
all the smile thing. That's the only thing I remember from John L. Smith. I remember so much worse with Chad Morris. Club dub, the whole Texas, which, let me be honest, that North Texas thing should have been a penalty, okay? If that whole what's the kid from Pitt who played for the Steelers? He got drafted to the Steelers, the quarterback.
Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett. He went and he had that fake slide. And then all of a sudden, after that fake slide, everyone in the NCAA was in an uproar. They're like, we gotta make that fake slide no longer legal. You can't do that anymore. But you can still go out there and pull what North Texas did. Now, if North Texas did that against Alabama, it would have been illegal the next day. But no, it's against Arkansas, so no one cares.
And you think about the question he just asked about Morris or John L. Smith, that whole debacle started because your offensive coordinator couldn't keep in his pants. So, I mean, look, it literally this whole thing started because of that. So, hey, maybe the answer to all this is just let Petrino be the head coach again, and we're back to where we were. I don't know.
I don't even know if he wants to.
I don't know.
I wouldn't mind it.
I don't necessarily think he wants to. That's my opinion on it. I think it's one of those things where he's happy just being an offensive coach and doesn't have to deal with all the responsibilities of a head coach, and especially in the era of transfer portal and all this junk. I think he's perfectly fine doing his job, coaching the offense, saying, all right, let me do that. And so
that man's been through a lot in his life, so I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll start doing our position breakdowns this coming week. But staying on the topic of football, Arkansas did grab a commitment yesterday for the 2026 class in a 4-star offensive lineman from Georgia. He is the 23rd commitment for the 2026 class, 6'5", 280, Ben Mubenga. He announced his commitment on social media yesterday. He was quoted as saying the love in Fayetteville was unmatched. He said, I knew I was going to Arkansas during my second day of the official visit. From the academics and the football, the hospital, everything felt right. It was exactly what I was looking for. So, Arkansas got that commitment over other schools like Florida State, Georgia Tech, NC State following his official visit to Fayetteville, which was on June 6th. He initially announced he would commit on July 7th, but decided to make that commitment a little bit earlier. So he was also offered by Auburn, LSU, Miami, Michigan, Missouri, all the big schools. So now Arkansas's 2026 class ranks 15th nationally along with his commitment, and he is the 5th offensive lineman to jump on board along with a few other commits for Arkansas. So, you love to see that, but next year's class isn't going to do too much necessarily for this year's team. But it's good to see that maybe Pittman still has his touch on recruiting some offensive linemen.
Yeah. This thing is it's mixed with him. Like Rivals has him as a 4-star. And then like 247 has him barely like right there in the middle of a 3-star range. So I don't think they've seen him play enough to really get him a good, accurate rating. But I mean, the dude has the measurables. He's 6'5", 280 pounds. He's a big looking dude. Like, not because you have some of these kids come from high school and they're really tall and you can tell they're stocky, but they just don't look built. This kid looks built, right? He's pretty big size. And one of the things I think is cool is that you didn't touch on it, but his family's from the Democratic Republic of Congo, right? They just moved here in 2017. So this kid moved here like 8 years ago, had to learn English completely, second language type stuff. I think in the interview he did with like Otis Kirk, he said they learned English in 6 months. So, I mean, you're talking about a kid that's probably going to be insanely intelligent, right? A kid that's going to be able to go in there and learn the lingo, learn the stuff pretty quick. And if he can do that, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, physical stuff that goes in with being an offensive lineman, but there is a lot of mental stuff. The reason why you see Arkansas in the past, like last season and the season before, why their offensive line just wasn't doing good is because of the mental lapses they had. It's not because Arkansas just got beat all the time. They just had those like mental brain farts in the middle of plays. And that's pretty much what the difference is between a good offensive line and a bad offensive line. So I'm excited to see this kid come in here and see what he can do. It'll probably be 2 or 3 years before he's ready, but I think he could turn out to be a good kid or a good offensive line prospect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's the good with recruiting as far as good news on the recruiting side of things. The bad news is when you talk about Arkansas's in-state recruits, that's where you start to question some things. So since 2024, Arkansas has missed out on the last 3 top 5 prospects from Arkansas. And, looking at this year, Arkansas has already, lost out on 3 of the top 5 Arkansas prospects already, seeing 4-star defensive lineman Danny Beal and 4-star offensive tackle Evan Goodwin both announced their decisions to go play somewhere else. Beal is headed to the Big 12 to play for Oklahoma State, and Goodwin is headed to Texas to play for SMU and Rhett Lashley. And then linebacker Ja'Cory Smith from Bryant is also leaving, and he's going to Oklahoma. So Arkansas still has DeQuain Prove from Bentonville that is committed, but he recently moved to Arkansas from Texarkana. So, you lose top 3. That's not great. We got I'm blanking out on the name, receiver that transferred back from Missouri last year.
Corny Crutchfield.
Crutchfield, he was one of the top ones that we lost, transferred back. But
they always come back.
Yeah, I was about to say, you talk about Shaq McCrory that came back from Oregon. It's one of those things. It's like these guys leave and go to these other schools. Are they just not cutting it at these other schools? And they're like, well, I can go back home and play for Arkansas and from my family and stuff. But I mean, you don't want to keep seeing all your top prospects leave to go play somewhere else.
Yeah, and the thing is not just it's not just 3 of the top 5, right? It is there's only 3 of the top 11 that might choose Arkansas. There's still 2 of those 11 that haven't said anything yet. There's a linebacker from Rogers, and there's a receiver from, I don't remember where he's from, but he's the number 3 guy in the state. That's just crazy. That, I don't know if you're reading off of my article or you're reading it from someone else, but that's if that happens, it's going to be the first time in the history of like 247 rankings that Arkansas's lost that many people from the in-state. And are we even going to like count Prove or whatever his name is as an in-state recruit? I mean, the guy's been here for a season, so it's not like he's an Arkansas product, if that makes sense. He was from Texarkana, so he's a borderline, or state line guy. But I mean, it's kind of crazy. And it's not that Arkansas just has a bevy of talent coming out of high school. But it is much easier to get these guys who are good in Arkansas than it is to go into Texas or to go into Georgia or Alabama, Tennessee, any of those other states and get guys of the same quality. It just is. It's just much harder. If you can't keep those guys in the state, then you're going to have a harder time reaching out into other states to find your guys. Simple as that.
Yeah, sorry guys. I just saw one of our players in summer ball go by the name of Ryder Helfer hit a ball about 500 feet. So that's pretty cool to see. So, so we're on good hands there. But yeah, as far as the in-state players go, look, I want you to be a Razorback. I want you to either be a Razorback or you go play somewhere else. So this is the day and age that we live in. These kids got all these opportunities. They can go anywhere they want to. And they're like, I'm going to leave Arkansas. But I want the kids that want to be a Razorback. What happened to the days where you're growing up like, I'm going to play for Arkansas no matter what. They made a movie about that, by the way. There was a kid that walked on. I don't know if y'all, remember the guy, but he became a really good offensive lineman. But unfortunately, tragic. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and it's not like these are just like the most greatest players ever. They're not like the most highly, the best in the state, but are they the best in the country? So I just see it as a way we can get somebody else that wants to actually play here because people. The problem is it's all about money right now, and these kids are so young. And it's hard, So if I'm going to blame anybody, I'm going to blame the parents because you should have raised your kid not to go to a team like LSU or A&M or Ole Miss, and that's just horrible. So money's not everything, and these kids will find that out.
Yeah.
I don't know. You wouldn't have had to convince me very high to go somewhere else. If you paying me a bag, I'm going to go to – like, if Arkansas can match it, I'd do it, but I don't know, man. It's a hard thing to say no to, right? I mean, I understand, like, from the like, perspective up here, looking down on everything. But if you got Alabama knocking at your door, right, saying, hey, we're going to pay you more, you're obviously going to go there, right?
No.
Well, you are you. Because I mean, you got to think, Alabama has a better track record of getting people to the league. Plus, you're going to get paid more than staying in state. I mean, from a logical mind, I would have to choose it. And it's just the way it is nowadays. I don't know how to change it. The love for just playing for a school is gone. It just is. And that sucks, but
it is
gone.
Going
for logic nowadays.
But yeah,
I try to.
There's no amount of money that's going to make me put an LSU jersey on ever. So I'm just kidding. I'd do it for $1 million. Just don't take a picture.
I'll get, if you pay me $1 million, I'll dress, I'll dye half of my hair yellow, the other half purple, and then have like 4 corn dogs in a jersey.
But my issue is the guys that take the money and don't even ever play it down. That's my problem. There's got to be some kind of restrictions where you got to play a certain amount, you got to become a starter, or you're not getting but maybe 25% of what we told you were getting. I don't know. The NFL does that. You got to put up stats to get most of your money in the NFL. So,
yeah.
I mean,
well, that's the whole thing, is that's the illegal part. It can't be based on performance at all.
It needs to be. I mean, they want to act like they're the NFL.
Well, yeah, I'm with you, because it's kind of like, do your business or get off the pot, right? Like, you can't have this middle ground. You can't be like, oh, we're gonna pay you, but it can't be on performance, because that's gonna give the wrong incentives, right? The incentive is, I just got to show up and I get a bag. And while, I mean, that's kind of the point of name, image, and likeness, right? You're supposed to be able to use the name, image, and likeness of yourself, but it's like, I don't know. It's not good for them individually, and it's not good for them as players. It might be good for them financially, but you got to think, at this level, you're still trying to develop them into men, right? They're high school boys coming into your program, and this is like the most influential time in their lives, right? This is where they become those men that you are going to go into the workforce and do this, or they're going to go play NFL. It just, I don't know, man. It does rub me the wrong way that they don't do it like that. But at the same time, I don't know the prescription for it, so I don't complain that much.
Yeah. It's like Transplant Texan said, in age of NIL, generational wealth is hard to pass up. It's basically get your mom a home versus play for the logo. Which do you choose?
But we're talking about three stars here. We're not talking about like big time checks being cut for certain players. Like, yeah, 5 stars, yeah, you're going to change your life. But I'm not talking about millions of dollars like a Carson Beck got to go play in Miami. We're talking about 3 on the edge of 4 stars players. They're not getting huge bags like that. So, good luck getting your mama home and with $100K. So
fair.
It's true.
So as we kind of get ready to wrap up, we'll jump over to and on a positive note here, jump it over to some baseball news. Hobbs, Arkansas has a player headed home to Arkansas from Oklahoma after spending his freshman season there. Jackson Kircher is committed to play for Arkansas, transferring back to Arkansas after spending his freshman season at Oklahoma. The right-handed pitcher was a Little Rock Christian Academy prospect. He was number 4 overall prospect in the state in the class of 2024. Last season with Oklahoma, posted a 5.68 ERA across 12 2/3 innings. He struck out 17 batters, walked 5, but got in trouble with 5 home runs this season. What's your thoughts or analysis on him as he is headed back to play for Dave Van Horn and the Hawgs?
Christian Fouts 2.0, a little bit wild and throws heat and gas. So hopefully Matt Hobbs can get him right down there, and he can be a weapon out of the bullpen. So we'll see. I mean, it's anytime you got a player that has the potential of throwing that hard, you can get him right. So hopefully he does good for us.
Keep it across the plate. That's all we need.
Yes.
But with that, like I said, we'll wrap up here. Don't forget to tune in Thursday as we will start diving into our position by position breakdown. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. Everybody have a great beginning of your week. We'll be back on Thursday. It will be 4th of July Eve, if you will. So, and then, we'll start breaking down these positions as we kind of gave an overview of the 2025 upcoming season today. And we will make sure and talk about all the guys that are going to help make it happen, whether it's success or failure or all the things in between. As Transplant Texan said, appreciate, like, subscribe, hit all the notifications, hit that bell. That way, you know, when Arkansas is, we go live for all the content. So with that, everybody have a great rest of your weekend. Great beginning of the week. We'll see you on Thursday to start breaking down our position by position for the off season. Transplant Texan said good show, but missed our story time with Austin. No story times today, but maybe we'll get some on Thursday. We'll have to be prepped for that. So we'll wrap up.
Right.
We're gonna get out of here. From Hobbs, Austin, myself, we're gonna wrap up. Get out of here. Everybody have a great rest of your Sunday evening and have a great beginning of your week. And we'll see you guys on Thursday.